let's talk about some changes that Street Fighter 6 definitely needs to nail.
Can't stop me now.
Hey, what's up guys, it's Mark Yoon, and today I'm bringing you another hopefully exciting video. So what I got for you today is I made a top 10 list of things that Street Fighter 6 needs to land on PlayStation 5. It's probably going to be one of the launch fighters, as Street Fighter usually is. So this is going based off of the past few games that have had some notable negative reception towards. So what I want to do is go over this list. I did make some bullet points, even though most of my videos are usually scriptless. I made some bullet points that I can stay on topic because there's a lot to go over, and these are just the top 10 ones that I wanted to choose. So hopefully these follow along with you. Let me know in the comment section down below if these correlate to you, or if you have your own list. I'd love to hear it down below. Alright, without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is arcade mode day one. So, as most of us know, Street Fighter V was a mess at launch. It has gotten better. There's a lot of better features on it currently. But I mean, there was no excuse for how that game showed up day one. It was literally ridiculous. We had like a ton of problems with it, as I'll probably get into some of these as I'm going more down the list. So just to keep it on point, there was no like arcade mode, like no classic arcade mode. Actually, the modes in general, but that's another point of the list. So I think Street Fighter 6, if they want to make a good impression just right out the gate, we need at least a classic arcade mode. Like, it doesn't have to be one of those modes where we have to like destroy cars and stuff, like, or barrels. Though some of those mini games are fun, so I would like to see a return to them, but I would just like a classic arcade mode. Let's just have our character that we choose, you know, go through, I don't know, 10 matches and have a character ending. I know like a lot of these things I'm talking about for 5 have gotten better, but I'm dealing specifically with launch issues. So hopefully we're following along and making the same list. If not, you know what to do. So I guess I would cap it off at number 1. That's just going to say I want an arcade mode day 1, a classic arcade. So number 2 that I definitely want to see is a story mode day 1. I want to see a story mode that involves the full roster, not just like selections here and there. I would like to see more characters involved. I would like to see better interactions between the characters. I understand it's a fighting game, so like story mode is not the most important aspect of it, but we do have a lot of games with really good story modes. Like take Tekken for example. Like even Tekken 5 and 6 had that regular story mode, and then they had the mode where you choose a character and you run around like a beat 'em up open world type scenario. Like we don't need something like that crazy for Street Fighter 6, but I would like a cohesive story that actually makes sense. They can take from any of the storylines we've had thus far. We've had great animated movies like Street Fighter 2 the movie, Street Fighter Alpha the movie. We can at least, if they're not going to use like in-game engine, I would love to see like an animated cutscene type deal. But if they want to do that, obviously in-game engine is fine. The graphics at this point look great. So that's just a personal priority of mine. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I would personally like to see a robust story day 1. Number 3 is probably the biggest one that I have, roster. So I looked it up, and throughout the games of the main series, I'm not even talking about like extra movie characters like Ryu's brother and stuff like that. Throughout the main series, there's about 83 characters in the Street Fighter franchise. Ultimate Street Fighter 4 or Ultra Street Fighter 4 had 44 at the end of its life cycle. But Street Fighter 5, we're at the end of its life cycle now with the Championship Edition coming out, and we have 35 characters. But it launched with 16 characters. That is blatantly ridiculous. Like, I know a lot of us know that this game felt rushed because it was catering to like eSports and making like different awards. So I mean, I can kind of see where they were going with that, but they were catering really heavy to the eSports crowd with that. The 16 characters is ridiculous. That's not even worth the price of admission. I remember I bought Street Fighter V day one, and as soon as I booted it up and saw the character roster, because I tried to not spoil myself before it came out, I'm telling you, man, if I saw that, if I did spoil myself on that, that would not have been a day one purchase. I've had to buy the game multiple times already now, and I'm probably going to get the Championship Edition as well because I don't feel like paying for all the DLC that's out right now. So my roster is actually still pretty limited in the game, as you'll probably see from my gameplay in the background. I'll show the character selection screen just so you can see who I actually have. I think I only bought like one character. The fighting points like in the game, in the system, is like incredibly hard to build up. So it's like definitely, yes, you can unlock them, I guess, via story, but it's highly motivating to push towards just paying to unlock them because it's almost ridiculous. Like I said, I've had the game since launch and I've only been able to unlock like one character. I mean, granted, I put it down and I don't play it that much anymore. I really play Ultra Street Fighter 4 a lot more than 5, but there are some fighting aspects and stuff that are of 5 that I like better than 4, but I'm just forced to play 4 because it's got a robust character roster that I could just jump right into. I mean, that everyone's going to have a different experience with that, but for me, the character roster was like extremely disappointing. So number 4, we have difficult settings in story mode. So there was another thing throughout the story mode that in the past games we've had difficulty settings, so that, like, if you're having trouble in a fight, you can change difficulty settings. I know this was a big problem at launch with Street Fighter 4 because of Seth. Like, he was incredibly spammy and super hard, and in the original Street Fighter 4, in order to unlock Gouken and I believe Evil Ryu, you had to beat, I think it was like you had to have like 4 first hits, you had to have 3 perfects matches, you had to have, I think, not lose at all on Gouken or on Evil Ryu or Akuma, and then you would unlock the character. But that's all well and good until you get to Seth, and yeah, like, Seth was a really big problem for unlocking those characters. I actually did, like, I played the crap out of it so hard that I actually eventually did unlock those characters. And then, like, you know, the next iteration of Street Fighter, I think Super Street Fighter 4 came out, and then, like, they were all just, like, unlocked, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I just did all that work for nothing. But, I mean, it was fun and rewarding at the time, but, it is nice that you can adjust the difficulty settings, even though it felt like for Seth, the lower you put the difficulty settings, the more spammy he got. Like, it was ridiculous. I don't know. Seth's another story. If you guys had a unique experience with Seth at launch of Street Fighter 4, I know he's not that bad now, but at Street Fighter 4, let me know your story in the comment section down below. I'm really curious to see if you guys actually unlock those characters day one as well. Okay, number 5 we have on here is Preferred Fighter Online toggle. So Street Fighter 5 tried to implement this thing that's probably catered to the eSports crowd, where, like, if you go online, you actually can't select your character because they want you to throw you right into the match, so it's easier to find matches and less time involved. So what they did is you go to your profile and you set a preferred fighter. Like, mine is Jerdy. And if you select your preferred fighter, that's the character that you use online. So there's no waiting for character select menus, there's no timers, timing down, or whatever. I would like to see this toggle feature for this, so I would like to be able to turn this off so that I can choose my characters, or just do away with the main character thing in general and just let us choose our characters online. Online against the real opponents is the best way you get good at characters. Like, between that and training mode, I mean, you're not going to have that much difficulty going through story mode or an arcade mode using basic spam techniques and zoning techniques. But if you were actually wanting to unlock the full potential of your character, online is the best way to do it, going against real people that have probably been playing the game for a super long time and are really good. So I love losing online. I love those defeat feelings because, like, it shows weaknesses in my own character's techniques that I can exploit, or I can learn how to mitigate those in the future. Mode. So those are really paired together, and I really would like to see a selection of a character so that I can actually get good with other characters besides my mains. Alright, and then after that we also have number 6 is better servers. So the servers for Street Fighter V were super buggy at launch. They were dropped connections, there's a whole host of problems. Also coincided with my number 9 on this list, so I'm not going to get into that directly. But there was so many problems with getting kicked out of lobbies and like not being able to find an opponent, or opponents like dropping out of mid-match, freezing the screen. It happened all the time. It was a mess. Things have gotten better, but at launch, it's just when you combine all this stuff, Street Fighter V was ridiculous at launch. Now I know a lot of people dropped it and didn't give it a second chance, as I have, but I still don't enjoy it as much as Ultra Street Fighter 4. Especially because like I think they should have implemented the V triggers better, but I can see some of the pushback against people who hate the game because like they probably dropped it when it was at its worst, which was launch, and then never picked it back up again and just wrote it off and waiting until Street Fighter 6. So I can understand the arguments for that, and I did give the game a second chance, and like I own it digitally now. Like the first time I had it, I bought it physically and I traded it in, but I do own it digitally now, so I can't escape it. There's no trading that in. I guess I could delete it, but then I always feel like that's a waste of money because there's no way to get it back. But the servers were awful, so Street Fighter 6 really, really, really needs to give us some good servers. Like, I want stable connections, I want stable frames, I don't want to get kicked out of matches, I want to at least jump in and enjoy the game. That way I'm not distracted by all the nonsense, and I'm actually able to learn the new techniques that they're obviously going to implement in 6, because they always implement something new. Number 8, I've kind of touched on this already, but I want them to cater less to eSports crowd and more to like local fighters or single player stuff. Esports is obviously a really big arena, and it's a really big outlet for shining light on the fighting game community. It really helps with a lot of smaller games gain notoriety. Street Fighter is obviously one of the classics, so it's going to get a big boost from esports, and they're going to be the ones that are going to be pushing the game and promoting it probably a lot. People are probably going to see these awesome matches going on, and they want to learn how to do that with those characters, and they're going to pick the game up. I get all the cross-promotional stuff. What I don't get is they catered so hard in Street Fighter V to esports crowd that when the game came out, it was a mess. Street Fighter V was a mess when it came out. Like, we talked about all these things so far. No arcade mode, no story mode. You had to buy it later for DLC, and you can only play it once. There was no replayability. That was another thing I want to touch on really quick before we keep moving on. Like, I beat story mode once after I paid for it, and that's it. Like, you can't do it again. It's grayed out. You can only do the individual character stories. There's no... You can't do the main story ever again. I understand they gave us rewards, but they could have easily just like let us replay the story mode without rewards, like a new game plus. Like, and notice you will not be obtaining rewards outside of in-game currency for completing this mode. You know what I mean? Something like that. Like, because I would have liked, I forgot what happened. Like, I would like to go back and see it, or maybe record it, or, you know, there's just like, I like playing single-player stuff sometimes. Like, if I'm after work, I don't feel like jumping online, I'm tired. So, the replayability of that is a really big factor for me. But the esports crowd obviously didn't care about any of the stuff that was out of there, including the modes. They just want their verses, and I get it. I'm not particularly into competitive play. Like, that arena that I was in when I was younger wasn't available, and that's when I put a massive amount of time into my games. Like, now I'm obviously older, so I can't really put as much time into games as I used to, but I would still like to see more single player stuff so that I can just like jump into the game and have fun instead of like having to go online because there's nothing else to do in the game. Number 9, I touched on this also, so I'll just go briefly over this. Better frame rate data. The frame rate was trash, especially with the online servers. There's mega drop frames all the time. Sometimes look like you're watching like a claymation special or like a slideshow. Sometimes it would just straight up freeze and then like unfreeze after like 30 seconds. It was ridiculous. So Street Fighter 6 out of the gate needs a good frame rate. I mean, it should be helped with the SSD, so hopefully they utilize that, but that's up to Capcom. And number 10, and the last thing, is something I've already touched on again. More single player content, more things to do. Like, they don't have to push the game only to the single player crowd, but I would like things to do. Outside of beating the story and then having verses or the characters' individual stories, there's really nothing to do. They can come up with some fun modes that you can have, that you can utilize. This goes into the our classic arcade again. They can give us some things that we can do that keep us occupied when we don't feel like playing online. Like, I want to see I'm not expecting like Mortal Kombat 3D era levels of mini games like Puzzle Fighter and Chess Combat and Motor Combat and stuff like that, or like the Devil Within mode from Tekken. I really want to see more things to do, even if it's like branches off of arcade or branches off of like the single player content that's already in there. Maybe go the way of Mortal Kombat now, where you have some variations where like you have character abilities that get activated, or like in the towers, like some kind of tower system or some kind of system that just like keeps you occupied when there's nothing to do. I would like a way to unlock rewards in game. I hope some of the characters are locked at launch so that you can unlock them. That's a big thing I miss from the PS2 era, and PS3 for that matter, is unlocking characters. It's like so cool to like actually go online with one of your buddies and like you have like the last character unlocked and they don't have it yet, or like there's like a special hidden way, just like I said how you unlocked Evil Ryu in Street Fighter 4 originally. Like, this is just stuff that like I want to see, that I know they can do, and it'll be a better game for it. I don't want Street Fighter 6 to fail. I actually want to enjoy Street Fighter 6, and I'm going to get it day one, but I hope that it's a good game. It's probably going to be a lot of our first PS5 games, especially fighting games, so I want to see them succeed so that like we get back the reputation of the community that it's been lost over the years. Like, there's the diehards who they're always going to make excuses for it, and they're never going to look at the criticism as actual valid criticism. They're just going to look at it as people that need to get good and like shut up about it, pretty much. But I do see the potential, and I saw the potential of the past, and Street Fighter was one of those games that actually pushed fighting to the next format. Like, it really had a huge audience early on, and fighting games wouldn't be where they're at today if Street Fighter didn't exist. So they have an obligation not only to themselves and their reputation, but the community, to make it better so that they gain back the points that they lost. And Street Fighter V has made steps in doing that, but most of us would like to have that in our base game without having to buy 4 different versions of the game throughout the years. Like, keeping it alive by like locking off content and giving it to us like via a drip is nowhere near the level that they should be thinking at. Like, that's not good for profit margins. It's not good for player retainability. It's not good for getting new players on board. Like, if you were a player who, let's say your last Street Fighter game was alpha, and then like you jump on a Street Fighter 5 day one and you got like 16 characters and no modes to play, especially no story at launch, like, you're gonna put that thing down. Like, unless you're like really hardcore into the fighting scene and you're only a Ryu main and you're only gonna like jump online with Ryu and that's the only character you're gonna use, and you ignore the rest of the roster. There's a lot of good, colorful characters in that need light shined on them. And that's why I loved Ultra Street Fighter 4 so much. It's because by the end of its life cycle, I know it had a rough launch also, but at the end of its life cycle, there were so many characters. Like I said, there's 44 characters in Ultra Street Fighter 4. I'm not sure about Arcade Edition. They might have added more for Arcade Edition. I have Arcade Edition, but I don't remember. So I have to go back and check those numbers. But this video is dragging on way too long as it is, guys. Thanks for watching to the end. If you stayed into the end, the password for the comment section to let me know that you did is, let's just say, SF6 Max. If you put SF6 Max, I know that you got to the end of the video. First good comment, like beefy comment, is going to get pinned that like goes into this stuff. I want to see your lists in the comment section down below. Check out my description box for people to follow and additional links and everything that you talked about here. And I just want your feedback. So thanks for watching the video today, guys, and as always, peace.